Yo, what's up, guys? This is Donald, aka D-Bot from the West Box Score podcast, along with my co-host Alex. What's up, brother?
What's up, D-Bot?
Thanks so much, guys, for listening and downloading our show.
Before we get started, I got to ask you to please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, screenshot and tag us on Twitter and Instagram. We're at West Box Score. Our social links will also be in the show notes. D-Bot, we're going to talk some soccer, man.
We are. It's awesome.
Got to give a shout out to Sonny and Mano. He's on Twitter and Instagram at The Fox Crate. Check out his podcast along with Primo Rick.
Also, we have an ever-growing Discord group. Check out that invite link in our show notes. Shoutouts to Big Money Matt Paz, Billy Delgado, Nejon Galdames, Parker McDaniels, Brianna Flores, JV Ortiz, Rick Esparza, and Clipper Pablo, who's also on there.
Clipper Pablo, who let him in there? And finally, check out Sailor Brews Coffee, man. They are supporters of this show and a place where motivation meets coffee. They're a local roaster out there in Pasadena, focused on single origin Ethiopian coffee and luxury coffees such as Jamaica Blue Mountain. They stand for positive motivation, are advocates for appreciating and experiencing coffee for how it's meant to be, with no additives, that allows you to taste coffee for what it is without outside and artificial influence. Sailor Brew Coffee, helping you sail through the day's storms. Safe sales. Be sure to put our code WBS10 to get 10% off your first order. Also, we have an affiliate link that is in our show notes. Be sure to click that link. That helps out this podcast you're listening to right now.
And with that, guys, we got all that stuff out the way. Let's get into the show.
Thank you for bearing with us. Yo, D-Bot, you ready to talk some soccer?
Oh, hell yeah, man. A lot of soccer to talk about.
Dude, this is going to be a long podcast, so sit back, crack open a cold beverage, and get ready to hear us yap about the ever crazy world of soccer, football,
exactly.
Around the world, but soccer in the United States. But we'll call it football for this. We got to talk about our hometown, LA Galaxy first. Because obviously D-Bot and I are both Galaxy supporters. We don't care. Sonny Amano will talk about LAFC in a moment. Just sit back, chill out. Our LA Galaxy came back home last weekend, and it was after a tough road trip, man. They got 1 point out of 3 games on the road, but it was to be expected, right? Those 3 games on the road, yes, they were against teams not so good, near the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
But the Galaxy weren't at 100% were they, D-Bot?
No, they were not. Obviously, a lot of these guys got a lot of their... Well, Chicharito's hurt. It feels like he
July
got...
4th, man.
I wanted to say he got called up to the Gold Cup, but no, he was hurt. It feels like he got called up, though, with the amount of time he's been missing. But he's out, and the team looked pretty flat in his absence. It just felt like you could tell they depend on him a lot. And then Jonah Dos Santos being also got called up to the Gold Cup. Sebastian Lletget getting called up. So it just felt like there were some holes in this squad that were needed to be filled, and they really weren't. I think the last time we spoke on the Galaxy was the Vancouver loss. Right. Sonny and I were able to speak on that, which was really embarrassing because Vancouver was at the bottom of the table, and then they took this loss.
They were winless at the time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And then they lost this game 2-1. And then they go on, they play Real Salt Lake in Utah, because that's where Vancouver's playing right now, is at the Real Salt Lake Stadium. So they have to stay in Utah for the rest of the week to play Real Salt Lake. And they actually managed to squeak out a draw. Which felt like
down 2-0 at one point.
Yeah, that's right. And it just felt like a win for the most part, because it just felt like that after that loss to Vancouver, it just made you feel like, what's going on with the squad? Like they don't look like there's depth anymore. So obviously you kind of feel a little hopeful with this team that at least if they could draw against like these teams that are not 100% like in the top of the table, that they should be fine, right? And then they go and they play against Dallas. And they get clobbered, and then you're thinking like, oh my gosh, this team is not good. Like the Gold Cup needs to end now. I need both the U.S. and Mexico to be eliminated right away in the in the round of 16. You know what I mean? Like these guys need to come home. It just felt weird, and for the most part, it was a little disappointing. But you and we got to attend that glorious game that took place on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before we talk about that game where the Galaxy hosted Portland, we got to give a shout out to FC Dallas's Ricardo Pepi, 18 years old, scoring a hat trick.
Oh yeah.
I mean, man, that's super nuts. So congratulations to that kid, man. Even though the Galaxy were on the wrong end of that bit of history footnote.
Yeah.
But of course, Galaxy had to come home hosting Portland. Portland's tough always.
Of course.
I think they had lost. Galaxy at that point had lost 3 straight to them, and it's just how are they going to respond after that tough road trip that they had? So how did they respond, D-Bot?
Yeah, they did really well. I was surprisingly well. I was
not a good start to the match though.
No, not at all. Not at all. They score and then Portland scores right away, like literally like the minute after. Yeah. And it was interesting because I took my nephew to this game. And he was just kind of like, "Oh, that was a cool goal." I forgot who was the first guy that scored. Was it Ryan Raveloson scored a bicycle kick, man. Yeah, the bicycle kick goal, right? So that happened, and then we're seeing that the kickoff happens, and Portland gets in, and I mean, for the most part, Portland was knocking on that door, like they were getting in real easily in the beginning of the match. Like it was like, "Whoa, is this the kind of game we're gonna be in for?" Where like the defense is not. They're not clogging up the lanes. Portland's able to cut and get in. Bond's going to have to really like just save us. And then they scored right away. And that's funny because my nephew, the first thing he tells me, he's like, "Man, the Galaxy fell asleep real fast after that goal." Like it's like he was telling me like, yeah, because he plays FIFA a lot. So he's always it looks like they just completely felt very overconfident after that one goal. And they were like, yeah, they're not going to do anything. Like you demoralized the Timbers right away after that one goal. And it's like, no, were fired up, and you guys were caught sleeping,
Yeah, for sure. And Portland answered right back. And yeah, like to your point, the first 25 minutes was all Portland, The Galaxy couldn't get anything going offensively, and Portland was just keeping all the possession. And it just had the makings of like, this is going to be a long game that's not going to go with the Galaxy's way, especially after Portland came back and tied it a minute later after scoring. Then to close out the first half, when Victor Vasquez got a nice toss into the box by Julian Araujo, headed it in. It's like, all right, we're up 2-1 at halftime. This Galaxy team's going to turn it around and then hold on to this lead. Let's see how they play in the second half, because to me, I think that's the Galaxy usually make a good second half adjustment. Vanny is really good at seeing what the teams are doing in the first half, and the Galaxy make good halftime adjustments. And sure enough, they did. They took out Vasquez at the half, bring in Saldana, which makes total sense because Victor Vasquez apparently had some leg issues. So it was kind of Vanny's hand being forced there. It makes sense because Vasquez is older. He shouldn't be out there playing 90 minutes.
No.
That being said, a guy who's older and shouldn't be playing 90 minutes is their captain right now, Sasha Klechkin, who gets a penalty shot. Thanks to Kevin Cabral getting in the box like he's always getting in the box. Okay, we'll talk about Cabral in a bit, but he got in the box, drew a penalty, and Klechkin, with ice in his veins, buries the PK. Very nicely done. I got good video of that on Westbox Scores Instagram page. You should have checked that out. It was right near our seats, man. It was really awesome. And then, of course, Samuel Grandsir. Finally getting on the score sheet, man. Getting on there. Well deserved, man. How great has Grandsir been this year?
Oh, man. Really good, dude. That guy hustles and amazing. He fights for the ball. He dribbles really well. Comparing him to Cabral does a lot of, there was a highlight by Cabral, which was pretty cool, where he broke the dude's ankles. But then, nothing happened after that. And there was almost an opportunity to score. But the thing is, Cabral does all this stuff, too. Like, the backward passes, kind of fancy footwork stuff, which is great. But at the same time, if it doesn't really lead to, a real open shot, then it really means nothing. But Grandsir can do the fancy footwork thing, but he's a lot more tamed about it because I think he understands, he needs to somehow, at some point, get a good look or pass it off to somebody for a good look. Obviously with Chicharito not being there, but I remember when Chicharito was there, Grandsir would know how to dribble and get the cross and whatnot. So he's been really great at that. And then the thing is, like, he's a little bit thicker built, so I think that's what helps, is that he's like a bit of a tank. So he's not going to be a pushover, which is Cabral is like a skinny, like scrawny looking dude, so he can be pushed over. That's why I kind of get like, I mean, I hope this isn't Antuna all over again, because that would scare me. You know what I mean?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So yeah, but overall, Cabral, I mean, he's coming together. I don't think there's a real issue with him. I just think that it's just a matter of, like, he needs to find his rhythm better, and he needs to know, like, how to play with the pace that we're in. But I mean, he's serviceable, but Grandsir is definitely standing out for sure.
Yeah, Grandsir has really come along a lot from the first game of the season to now.
Yeah.
Tank is a perfect way to describe him, D-Bot. It's so funny because I went to this game with my wife. This is her first time going to a Galaxy game. And she even said to me, like, oh, I was busy looking around the stadium. I didn't get to really watch much of the game. But when she looked down at Grandsir, she's like, that guy's kind of little, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's shorter than everybody else. Like, well, defenders are usually a little bit taller and what have you. But yeah, Grandsir is a tank, is the perfect way to like describe him, D-Bot, as you said, because he's shorter, but he's like very built, very wide. And when he dribbles, he will either dribble around defenders or go through them.
Yeah.
Like, it's really impressive how he uses his center of gravity, his low center of gravity to go around, just kind of mope people over and just use their momentum against them. And there's been so many times, as you talked about, that Cabral ankle break where we've seen, that Cabral ankle break where we've seen Grandsir do similar situations and to get by defenders, just really make defenders look bad. And we also got to give shout out to Araujo, because that goal by Grandsir was a clear cross into the box from Araujo again, and it was a clean header that Grandsir finished.
Yeah,
so that's just, Araujo is just too good for our Galaxy team.
Yeah.
He's not here for a long time. We're just here for a good time, man.
Yeah,
we're happy to see him right now, because we're appreciative to just see him develop, because he is developing right before our eyes as this player who is just improving every game. And once he's gotten, remember last year the knock for him was being too aggressive and getting yellow cards almost every match.
That's true. He's
cleaned that up. He's just getting better routes to cut off the offensive to the counter attack. So I think that's a big part of the game that he's improving. So it's just amazing to see his development this year. This Galaxy team, I think Vanny said today at the press conference that this Galaxy team hasn't even scratched the surface of how good they're going to be. And look at their third on the table right now, man.
Yeah.
Just like 5 points back of Seattle, which Seattle is a ridiculous team, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really feel the Galaxy lost a chance to gain some ground against those bottom of the table teams on that road trip.
Oh,
but
of course.
They're going to make it up here because they're playing those same teams at home now with D-Bot and I in attendance. So we're going to be loud. We're going to be helping out the team. Yeah, because we're the difference makers, D-Bot. You know this. I mean, how excited are you for this Galaxy squad with the potential they're going to have now with Leggett back? And we got to give a shout out to Yona Dos Santos, man. He lost his father, and that's always tough. You play with a heavy heart, obviously, but everybody's different, right? Like, I couldn't imagine, going to work after something like that. Yeah. But this guy, I guess it's more of a tribute to his father more than anything else, and losing yourself in the game that he gave you, so it's you guys got to send our condolences to Yona and his family. Yes. And just keep your head up, man. We're thinking about you, right?
Yeah. I thought it was good. It was cool. When we went to the game on Saturday, that they did a moment of silence for his father. That was very touching. Even Jonathan Bond put it on Instagram, I think, or it was on social media. I think it was both Twitter and Instagram. He said this one was for Jonathan, because like the full Galaxy family felt that, this is a tragic thing that just happened, and everyone's kind of going about their day, and you sometimes need to stop and think about like someone who just lost their parent. And I think for the most part, seeing Jonathan Dos Santos make the decision to continue playing in the Gold Cup was pretty brave for me, at least, because like you said, I'm in with you too. I don't think I'd be be going to work, like, so, you know what I mean? Like, but, the Galaxy family definitely felt it. They felt like the pain and I don't know. I'm not saying that contributed to the 4-1 win, but the fact that Jonathan Bond really made it a point to say, hey, like, this was for you, Papa Dos Santos. I thought that was really powerful. So.
Cicinho Dos Santos. I love that way also. After Ravelson scored the bicycle kick, he came out, he ran back to the Galaxy bench and picked up a Cicinho jersey, Galaxy jersey, and Julian Araujo picked up a Yono Dos Santos jersey, and we're showing it out to the crowd there, just like to say that goal was in their honor.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
It was just a really classy gesture by his club, obviously, because obviously Yona is our captain.
Exactly.
And just any time that anybody in sports is playing through a tough situation like that, you got to admire that, because as Simone Biles would tell you, mental health is everything.
Exactly.
I mean, as anybody would tell you, mental health is everything, dude.
Yeah.
And so if you're not in that right mindset to perform, then you're not going to be able to. So I never, you got to give people credit when they are in the right mental mindset to perform their jobs at a high level. And so that we just can't not praise Yona enough for performing still well with the Mexican national team just hours after his father's passing. Which is amazing. The mental strength and just the mental focus and clarity and just wanting to being right emotionally. And obviously everybody grieves differently, so we just gotta be astonished by Yona and give him the support that he needs to continue on, man. So that's our Galaxy talk. So now we got to move on to our LAFC talk for Sonny and Mano. So I actually was at on the 2 days prior to the Galaxy match. I was at the Bank of California Stadium again.
Oh, second time.
Trust me, I'm not converting as much as my cousin. Shout out to my cousin Joseph Garcia, man. I love you, primo, and thank you for always inviting me to go see live soccer. Even the wife told me, like, why are you going to this game? Like, you worked today all day and you're gonna go watch a soccer game that you don't care about either team that's playing. I'm like, yeah, but it's live soccer and I want to see it. So of course, so that's why I go to the LAFC Bank of California Stadium. It's the only reason I go, D-Bot, and all my other G's out there. Don't think that I'm ever going to convert over to LAFC. That is not at all the case. I want to see live soccer, and I don't care where I'll see it, but I'm not supporting them. And I tell my cousin too, like, I'm not there to root against LAFC. I'm really not. I try not to bring a negative energy to them. Although in the pit of my stomach, I feel a lot of disgust seeing all the LAFC supporters, and I can't help but laugh. That's why I sent a picture of Papa Shango to to the text group, because it's so funny, all their supporters, how they dress up and all that nonsense. To me, it's nonsense. But once again, that's not my club, and I don't want to like hate on them at all, because that's not cool. I'm not about that negativity, but it's just funny.
If you want to see that, you go to PWG.
Yeah, I expect, like, I'm like, am I at a wrestling show? Because, like, okay, where's Malachi Black and all that? But no, it's the way they do their thing, and that's all good. So yes, I was at the LAFC match on Wednesday where they played Minnesota United FC. And it's so funny because my cousin's like, we need this win today. Like, we lost, we drew against, what was that? Vancouver, right? They were down 2-0 against Vancouver at home.
Yeah.
And came back to tie. But that game prior, man, was another tough one. They were in Portland, tied 1-1, and they were holding on for that draw in Portland, which was impressive to get.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We've heard that chainsaw in Portland. You remember, D-Bot, earlier in the year, we hate it. We hate that damn chainsaw.
Yeah.
And what happens in the 93rd minute? Portland clean the header and they win it, man. Amazing.
Mora, 90 plus 3. That's insane, man.
Isn't it though?
You hate those dagger goals when they're against your team, man.
Hey, you hate to see it, but not when it's against LAFC, man. I'm not gonna look at. I'm sorry, I'm giving you crap. I know, man. You do hate to see it, man. That's rough. But you come back and you expect a better performance out of it. And what do you get? You go down 2-0 at home to Vancouver.
Yeah,
that's tough. But you battle back. You get a draw. Yeah. Good for you guys at home. now cut to Wednesday night. LAFC hosting Minnesota United FC, 5 versus 6 on the table, I believe.
Yeah.
And with LAFC's chance to tie the Galaxy on the table, by the way, jump up to number 3. And LAFC scores first. Of course, Vela, whenever I'm there, Vela scores. It's like he knows I'm there. He puts on the show for me. Because I do root for Vela when I'm there. I want to see Vela. Dude, Vela's an amazing player. Yeah, I've always said this.
Really good.
So I like to see him play. I'm amazed by him all the time. And a lot of the LSC guys are really good.
Yeah.
They have a good squad over there. So they're up 1-0. Minnesota comes back, ties it up at 1, and LAFC comes right back 2-1, and it looks like they score like in the 80th minute, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they're gonna hold on for 10 minutes, they got it. Now they add extra time.
Yeah.
They had extra time, but then one of their guys goes down. LAFC's defender goes down and needs to be carted off or walked off. The medic comes in, everything. And I love it. The balls are at around midfield, and LAFC fans are yelling for the whistle, the whistle.
Yeah.
They're not taking into account that this player had to be, looked at and walked off.
Yeah.
Now, Minnesota, of course, what happens? They score in 90 plus 5. What's upsetting why LAFC fans are mad because they added 4 minutes of stoppage time.
Oh, shoot.
How can you score in 90 plus 5? What the hell? Blah, blah, blah. I know this is not how soccer works, or maybe it isn't, Sonny. You tell me. Yeah. It's a minimum of 4 minutes of stoppage time, and then you also have to account that there's now more stoppage because this player is getting walked off, looked at medically, and has to be walked off. So you would add a little bit more time, wouldn't you, D-Bot? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, you do. Usually when things like this happen in
stoppage time,
I should say, you have to account for it. I know it's kind of a bummer because at some point, but that's the rule, man. Like, I mean, these are unexpected things that are happening. So you have to account for that. So, of course, they have to add like an extra 5 minutes, at least 5 minutes, if there is like an injury where it's like a carting off of a player. It's just what has to happen. But yeah, it is a bummer because if you think about it, if it doesn't happen, game's over, you win.
Yeah.
But it did. And that's
the key. If it doesn't happen, yes, there wouldn't be an extra minute or two because they added like an extra 2 minutes. He wasn't carted off, but the doctor had to come take a look at him. They had to like eventually get him up, stretch him out, and get him up and walk him off. And because of that adds an extra minute or two. It's obvious. Yeah. And I love how typical LA fans, and this is not just LAFC fans, there's a lot of LA fans who do this. They start throwing stuff onto the field. Like, of course, like they're just so upset by this.
Oh, wow.
By the extra 2 minutes of stoppage time. This could have been our 3 points. And no, they took it away from the goddamn refs. They took it away from us. That's just not how soccer works.
Yeah, man. That's rough. Man.
But LAFC made some moves as well, right?
LAFC made a couple of moves. Corey Baird was traded over to the Houston Dynamo, and Mark Anthony Kaye was traded to the Colorado Rapids, which was interesting because Kaye was actually in the Canada squad for the Gold Cup. So kind of an interesting feeling knowing that you're playing for your country and then they're doing a transaction for you in the local club. But at the same time, the LAFC just announced today that they signed Colombian forward Cristian Arango. So we'll see what he brings to the table for this LAFC squad. I haven't watched enough LAFC to kind of know what is it that they're lacking. If there is something that they're lacking, I don't know. I mean, I know the fans want LA, like anyone, we all want our teams to be the number 1 team. So obviously them being in number 5, it is a little like kind of concerning. I'm assuming a lot of LAFC fans want at least LAFC to get home field advantage come playoff time. So they're not too far from that. So we'll see what happens with these acquisitions and these roster moves that they did. But again, we'll see what happens. Hopefully this isn't just so that Bob Bradley saves his job, because I think that dude needs to go if for whatever reason LAFC doesn't get anything going here in the postseason.
Yeah, this must be a move that's looking toward the future with LAFC, because it was a 5-3-2 formation that they played against Minnesota. And you think of that midfield and you see Blessing, Atuesta, Cifuentes, then Valen Rossi up front. So and it's just okay. So where the weaklings? It's back there on the back line, quote unquote, because the backs are good. You got Kim out there on the left side, and Palacios on the right side, and then Blackman's in the other left back, and Mourinho is a center back, and Ferran is also a center back there, and of the three. So it's just it's an interesting look why they would bring in this Colombian player. This has to be a future thing because Atuesta and Rossi are not long for MLS as well. Atuesta is a really good midfielder. Rossi is a player that can finish and should really get looked at by more European clubs, I think, because he's a goal scorer, former Golden Boot winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's not forget that.
That's true.
This LAFC team, we give them a lot of crap on here because we're Galaxy fans, but you also have to acknowledge the fact that they have a good club over there.
No,
so that's what we always do. We're fair and balanced on this podcast, Sonny.
Fair and balanced.
That's us. Hey, not to be outdone by this acquisition, LAFC made. The Galaxy are also rumored to be making an acquisition of their own, a backup striker, right?
That's true. They've been needing something like that because without Chicharito, it's been cool seeing them win 4-1, but again, like it feels like a mashup. Like they had to lose like 2 games and draw 1 game in order to finally figure out like, oh shoot, we have to be the ones that score. Like, and I think they definitely need a backup striker because Chicharito being out for this long, there definitely needs to be somebody that can at least do what he has to do in terms of a finisher. You know what I mean? Because that's what we've been lacking. We've been lacking a finisher. So,
Raveloson has been our finisher these last couple of games, and he's really not intended to be.
He can't. Yeah, he's pretty much scored every game except the first one that he started in, and that's kind of surprising. I mean, how many goals is he at now? Like,
he's at 4 now.
4 now, right? Yeah,
he's at 4 goals.
It's like almost halfway through what Chicharito has. Chicharito has 10 for the year.
Oh, that's right. We got to update our Golden Boot race now. It's 4 goals now for Raveloson and 10 for Chicharito, man.
Yeah.
So, it's a young Serbian 21-year-old that we're expecting, who is supposedly, according to Galaxy rumors on Galaxy Twitter, that he is in LA today to sign paperwork.
Oh, shoot.
So we may be getting our secondary striker, which will be our fill-in striker. But from what I'm hearing, he is going to come in today, sign paperwork, and go through the physical, but then have to leave and come back in over with the visa, which means he may not be coming back until September. So, I mean, as much as help is on the way, it's typical with all these transfers that have come in, like the Cabral and Raveloson, who take a while to get put through. So it's probably going to be another month before we get that our backup striker that we're supposed to be getting, Dejan Joveljic, 21-year-old Serbian striker from played in Germany in Bundesliga.
Yeah, that's right. That's right for Frankfurt, I believe. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so, and I guess because Pipo Gonzalez being announced that he is going to be on loan definitely opens up this spot for this guy to come in
for sure. So as of right now, we're expecting to get our striker, but soon. But yes, we're going to get back our reinforcements from the Gold Cup, as we talked about. And we got to talk about the Gold Cup now because the final was a few hours ago from when we're recording this now. And man, USA versus Mexico Gold Cup final. You couldn't script it any better, right? CONCACAF. No. But that's kind of like what always happens.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it always happens.
Yeah.
And I mean, shout out to Clipper Pablo. He even said, why are they having the tournament? You know, it's going to be USA and Mexico in the final again. But it wasn't an easy road. And it's mainly because Mexico's playing with not their A squad. Let's give this this realization. They sent a Mexican squad to the Olympics, which we'll talk about in a bit, and also the USA not playing with their A squad either. I mean, a lot of their players are in Europe right now.
Yeah.
This is mainly the MLS all stars of the national team, right?
Yeah, pretty much it is. And I think that it's. I don't know what you make of this. I feel like this is where the CONCACAF really needs to figure out their schedule with these tournaments, because we just had the Nations League like a month before, which is when both the A squads for both teams were there. And it felt really good to see your national team be represented by the best for this one huge tournament. And then like a month later, it's the Gold Cup. And I want to believe that this is just as big as the Nations Cup.
If not bigger.
You know what I mean? Maybe bigger because it's been around longer for sure. But the CONCACAF schedules it like a month after, and like our best players have to go back to their, you know what I mean? The European soccer is around the corner. And it's like, that's not cool because then you're watching these B squads go at it. And yeah, it is kind of cool, but then you see it and you could tell there's a difference in style and in talent. Like, and I don't know. I don't mean, this is the thing. This is why UEFA is as dominant as they are. They have the Premier League. I mean, they have the Champions League for like everybody that loves big club soccer. And it's completely way off from the Euro 2020 where like it doesn't overlap that way. You're going to see Ronaldo won in both these things, in both these tournaments. You know what I mean? And I think even when they have their Nations League, it's scheduled in a whole different time frame where it doesn't interfere with the Euro. So then you still see Messi, I mean, not Messi, but you still see Ronaldo. You still see, you know, Harry Kane being represented by their countries in all these tournaments. And I think it was kind of a bit of a flub that CONCACAF did this so soon. But like you said, and I know this is kind of like an off point from the Gold Cup in the final, which I know is, but this is the stuff that's been in my head.
No, of
because,
course, yeah.
I mean, again, the game was cool. Definitely was like, I mean, pretty intense for being like a 0-0 draw till the end and going into extra time. But it just felt like it didn't have to if we had like the better squads representing themselves. And it would have been like a cooler rematch type of thing. But it is what it is. It was at Vegas. It was crazy. It was like filled with like Mexico fans. They were really there representing. And I thought that for the most part, it was cool to see the Raider Stadium kind of look, it looks new. You could tell like, it's like, oh, it looks fancy.
It's a cheaper version of SoFi Stadium.
Yeah, pretty much. The Allegiant Stadium, they call it. Such an interesting name.
Right.
And then the US pulled it off. And I guess it's cool that they won it, but it just felt like, I don't know. For me, it was kind of like,
Yeah, to your point, and just the discrepancy of talent from Nations League to Gold Cup. And just look at the scores, right? This was a 1-0 extra time, extra time. Both games went to extra time.
Yeah.
Which just shows you how competitive these matches are when it's Mexico versus USA. And it's always going to be that way, no matter if it's the A or the Z squad. Yeah. Always going to be that way. But both matches, of course, go into extra time. But the score line, 1-0, as you said, for this Gold Cup final, it was 3-2. For the Nations League.
Yeah.
Because of that talent. And they're able to find the back of the net. There were chances on both sides.
Yeah.
Where this could have easily been a 3-2, another swinging it any way you want. 3-2. But it wasn't because the finish wasn't there. And defensively, I thought USA played really well. So it made me think like, okay, is defensively the USA really that good? Or is it just Mexico just like not capitalizing on their finishes for what reason other than the talent? Like they made it to the final, but they weren't really lighting up the score sheet prior. I mean, they edged out Canada. They edged out they edged out everybody to get there. Really, they didn't really run roughshod over anybody. I mean, I think honestly, it was maybe Honduras. It was the only team that they really like won 3-0.
Yeah, that's true.
In the first knockout stage. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like they had a tough time with everybody.
Yeah, they did.
It's in the group stage against El Salvador. That was a tough win for them.
Yeah.
And they nearly lost that group to El Salvador.
Yeah. And Trinidad.
Well, the Trinidad. And see, that's another thing too. Had Chucky Lozano not gotten injured in that first match, this could be a whole different outcome. This was, because that was the whole thing from this whole tournament. This was Mexico's tournament to lose, right? That was the whole thing. Because Mexico's sending out their A squad, right? That was the thing. Because Mexico's only really sent 3 big starters over to the Olympics, and the rest are our young players. Shout out to Sonny Demano for giving us that intel there. And so if that's the case, right, they're not playing with a full A squad, as it were, right? Because missing 3 key players will make a big difference. Look at our LA Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, don't look at LAFC because they have all their full players over there. But I don't know why they keep drawing. Right, D-Bot?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, dude, it's just crazy to see. You were expecting a more dominant performance from Mexico. And I mean, I guess in a way it's a developmental thing, right? Because at the same time, like they're trying to save all their best players for the World Cup qualifiers that are going to be around the corner too. But this is where I get bothered with the CONCACAF, because it's like you guys could have scheduled this stuff a lot better, where we could have seen the dope squads go at it all the time. But it is what it is. I mean, I think for the most part, it's cool. It's cool to see USA win it. I mean, Mexico won it last time. I think the only reason why it looks so dominant right now with USA winning is because they won the Nations League. So it was kind of like that back to back. I don't know when the last time something like this happened. I forgot. I was listening to a pod and they did say
2007, I think.
Yeah, where they won like the back to back against Mexico. So it was cool to see them win.
And it's never been for a trophy like this.
No, exactly. So it was really huge. It's huge for the country. It makes it, obviously, it being all MLS guys on the US side just makes you feel like, okay, this is why the MLS has something going on for itself. But you know what I mean? It was cool. I mean, overall, I thought it was a cool final. It was good to watch it. It was definitely an event. So I loved it,
Yeah, and this show really shows you in CONCACAF's pecking order. This is still their number one trophy as opposed to Nations League, because I don't remember Nations League having that pregame performance like the way they did for this Gold Cup final, right?
Yeah.
They had the whole performance, pyro and all that stuff. And I don't know if they're just showcasing the stadium or what have you, but they had some pyro before for that performance, and then pyro as they got their trophy presentation.
Yeah,
so that just shows you how big this Gold Cup trophy is.
Yeah.
So definitely congratulations to the United States. They took advantage of their chances they got, right? I still think maybe he was offside. I still think Robinson was offside. If we go to the Premier League VAR, man, where they put that line out there, he was over. His shoulder was over the line. He was offside. But that's Premier League.
That's
MLS,
UEFA, dude. That's when you have that money, you could do that stuff. CONCACAF is prison rules, so
they don't even give red cards out, man.
No,
dude. They don't deserve a little bit of a red card there.
The ref was not trying to call a PK at all.
Dude, and then the handballs that were missed too. Dude, United States fans, stop it on Twitter. Those, that those were handballs, man. Those were freaking handballs.
I was like, the ref doesn't want to, because he knows if he does a PK, that's it. Like, you're now swinging the game in one way or the other, and they didn't want to feel like they were responsible for that. So they just let things fly in the box. Like, do whatever you want in the box.
Goddamn refs. Goddamn refs. But don't worry, Liga MX is going to get some revenge in that MLS All-Star game. I'll tell you that much. Right, I'm calling that right now. USA win your trophies. That's cool. The Liga MX is going to win a meaningless All-Star game. So don't you worry.
Didn't you say it was a MLS versus Cruz Azul?
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of those, it's Cruz Azul with Memo Ochoa in net. And there's some good Tigres and Pumas players in there as well, man. Yeah. But it's a lot. Hey, man, Cruz Azul, shout out to Rick Esparza. He has a squad right there in Cruz Azul, man, for sure. They won the tournament last, what is it called? The Guardians Cup. It was the Guardians tournament.
Yeah. They just won the Campeón de Campeones.
That's right.
Here at Dignity. And then I think they're playing Columbus Crew next.
In the Leagues Cup.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, man.
Oh, man, so much soccer this summer. And we're still not done yet with this episode, man. We still got the Olympics to talk about. As I mentioned, that Mexico has sent out a squad to for the men's side. But before we get into that, the women's side of soccer in the Olympics, big news out there, right, D-Bot?
Yeah. So the U.S. women were, I guess you could say, eliminated from contending for the gold in the Olympics over in Tokyo, Japan. They lost to Canada 1-0 in the semifinal, and it was on a penalty kick.
Oh wow!
It was insane to see how flat this U.S. women's team looks, given how dominant that roster has been for like a long time now, like years, probably close to a decade, if not. And it just feels like it was, and obviously there's some controversy similar to the U.S. Goal, where the women felt that maybe it shouldn't have been called a penalty, that the ref just kind of, overstepped it and everything. But, for the most part, what happened. And at the end of the day, you could have put this team away if you chose to because you're the U.S. women's team, and U.S. women's team tends to be very dominant, very controlling. But you didn't. So, you gave up a PK, and then that was it. And now they're going to be playing against Australia for the bronze medal. I don't know how they're going to feel about that because it feels weird to say women's soccer and bronze, but that's what's happening, man. But I did see the highlights of this game because I know it happened like around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m.
Right. Yeah, 1 a.m.
So, and then I did see a little bit more of the game before that, which was the against Netherlands, where they won it in penalty kicks
Right.
after extra time. But yeah, man, I will say that the U.S. squad, man, I know that a lot of it has to do with just they brought in all their older veterans for this team. They could have gone younger with some of the NWSL players. And I freaking love the NWSL highlights, man. Like the way they like make these goals are insane. The way they juke people and get these nice curls into the box, and the goalie can't do anything. I'm like, yeah, you see, there's talent out there they could have brought, but they went with the no names, the Rapinoe, Lloyd, Alex Morgan, and it just feels like this loss was a big, like, kind of, big sign that says like the end of the era. And
Wow.
I think for the U.S. women, if they don't get like, if they don't build up the program fast enough, they're probably going to be losing like this more, because that Netherlands team looked really good. Sweden looks really good. France did not get to compete in this Olympics, but the French women have been really great. And you're starting to see these European national teams really start pumping in resources for these women. I saw that yesterday. La Masia, which is Barcelona's academy, now is accepting women in their academy. So you're starting to see Spain, England, Sweden, France really pump like resources behind their women. And I think that it just feels like the U.S. women have to really make sure they can counter that, like, because it feels like it's drawing closer to that time where they might be, in the past.
Man, D-Bot with a hot take here, claiming already putting the tombstone on U.S. women's soccer.
I don't want to, though.
On the women's national team.
It feels like it, man. It feels like it.
Wow, man, dude. It felt like I was at an obituary, man. I felt like I was at their wake, dude. They're dead and gone now, dude. Or you know what it is? It reminds me a lot of Ronda Rousey. And I'll tell you why. It's Ronda Rousey was just the top of her game. Nobody can touch her until the division caught up to her.
Yeah.
Right. Until there was more female talent out there who were just as talented, and they adapted to her style, and they ended up beating her. And now look at Ronda Rousey. We always give her that respect for being a pioneer for the sport of mixed martial arts for women.
Yeah.
And I think the United States women's national team is going to be in that similar situation where they're always going to be looked at as those women who stood up for rights for women's football, and why they were so dominant for so long, and we're always going to look at them as pioneers. But the sport of women's football is going to catch up to them, and they are going to be left as dinosaurs in the past because they're not going to adapt. Like you said, they didn't bring the younger talent like they should have.
They should have. Yeah, and exactly. And I know that there's a stat out there that says that none of the women national teams have been able to win the World Cup and the Olympics the following year. Like, it's been really hard. Like, usually you will, if you win the World Cup, you'll lose the Olympics. So at the same time, we could make the argument that they were really trying to achieve the impossible. But I just feel like for the most part, there was an opportunity there for them to have a better squad out there. But, they ran with who they ran with. They ran with the reliables, the trusted ones. But the thing is like you said, these other national teams brought in like some heavy firepower because, again, they're catching up to them. And, even props to Canada for winning, because even the Canadian men in the Gold Cup, you know what I mean? Like, not in the, the
Gold Cup, yeah.
Yeah, in the Gold Cup, like, they were there too. So there's something going on in Canada where they're really putting resources behind their national guys and their women. And it's crazy to see. And I think it's great because it's going to set up for 2026, which, it'd be cool to have like the three CONCACAF teams that are going to be hosting it, Mexico, USA, and Canada, be the more dominant teams for sure.
Exactly. Like you want the host countries to have good squads, right?
Yeah.
Just to perform well, because you never know. Not since 1998 has the host country in France won the World Cup on their own, has a host country won the World Cup.
Yeah.
So it's like, is there a chance? Like, I love all the United States Twitter. It's like, oh, first stop Gold Cup, next stop World Cup. It's like,
yeah,
dude, chill out, chill out.
Yeah.
But it's fun to have a competitive team, right? It's just fun to even dream that, to even just have the capabilities to win some big matches.
Yeah,
that's really what you want from. And that's what makes that's what makes an exciting World Cup, right?
Yeah,
that's why as Mexico fans, we're always like, oh, we made it to the round of 16. Oh shoot, here we go. And then what happens.
Yeah.
But speaking of Mexico, man, the men's Olympic side is going on too, where they're playing the semifinal for a chance to go to the gold medal game, but they got to get past Brazil first, man.
Yeah.
And I really wish we had our boy Rick Esparza on the podcast right now, because he's been watching all these games, dude.
Yeah.
He's been talking to us about this. So from what I can understand, and as Sonny Amano mentioned, it's all young guys who are at this, pretty much the U22s, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And with the exception of, Memo, Lianes, and I want to say, Alexis Vega for, my Chivas. So really it's all the young guys out there.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's bad if there's a Chivas player on that squad, but here they are in the semifinal against Brazil, man. Which Brazil, they didn't send Neymar. It's all these young guys, but Brazil's always got a squad, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You gonna stay up for this one?
I will not be up at 1:00 in the morning. I will catch all the highlights. I'll try to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't know about this, but what I love is the Mexico players have said they're not scared of Brazil.
Yeah.
So they've been saying all the right things in the media, pumping themselves up for this game. So, I mean, once again, I get baited in this all the time, man, as a sports fan. Like, oh, this is it. They're going to get some gold. They couldn't win the Gold Cup, but maybe they'll get the gold medal,
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's always tough. Mexico versus Brazil is always like a big matchup. But
exactly.
I mean, it doesn't get any easier, because in the other semifinal, Japan, the host country, against Spain.
Oh, man.
See, 4:00 in the morning, maybe I could get up early. I don't know if I could stay up late. That's how old I am. I can't stay up late. I could probably get up early.
Yeah.
that comes with age, man. I'm showing my age here. What do you think is going to happen in this?
It'd be cool. It'd be cool to see Mexico, advance. I think that, the Olympics is cool. Like, man, like getting a gold medal means something. It's like a global trophy, man. Like, I mean, for as much as the Gold Cup is dope, like a Gold Cup is only for like people here in the CONCACAF, like people in the Caribbean and Central America, Latin America, North America. Like, we're the only ones that kind of care about it. You know what I mean? You take this Gold Cup trophy to like Japan or like Spain. They're like, oh, that's cool. Like, but you take a gold medal, it's a worldwide, like it's a worldwide recognition you're getting. You know what I mean? You beat other teams in other countries around the world. You're not just beating like the teams in your region. So I think this would be better. I think this would be a lot bigger to me.
Yeah. It's tough for me because I know the Olympics are a big deal, but I feel a certain way about the Olympic Committee, which is a whole other different topic of conversation. But we could also go down that rabbit hole too with FIFA and that whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, that's all sports, man. Look at us, right? Yeah. Every sports organization has their own bit of corruption.
I just complained about the CONCACAF to begin with. So,
I mean, come on, we could go down Major League Baseball too, Rob Manfred, and talk about how corrupt you guys are over there too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about the positives, man. And like you said, how great a gold medal would be to accomplish that. And let's also normalize the U.S. women. Winning a bronze medal is cool too, man.
Yeah,
I know they're bummed out. They're playing for a bronze medal.
Yeah.
But dude, medaling in any Olympic sport is amazing. It's an accomplishment.
It is.
So you got to go out there and try to still win your bronze medal, because it's still an impressive feat. And I really hope the women do it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Me too, man.
So good luck to the United States women's national team. Good luck to E3 out there too against Brazil.
Yeah.
D-Bot, that's all for our soccer talk this week, man. That's it for us this week. See ya.
Later.